We have massive breaking news right now. Just minutes ago, a United States federal appellate court rejected Donald Trump's authority to impose worldwide massive tariffs. His tariffs regime has once again been ruled unconstitutional, throwing his complete economic policy into chaos this afternoon because Donald Trump had imposed tariffs on a number of countries, from Switzerland to Brazil to elsewhere to Canada. And while a number of these tariffs have just been invalidated again, now by a federal appellate court, previously a district court held that, or a lower court held that tariffs, the way that Donald Trump were imposing them, unconstitutional, he can't do it, exceeds his executive authority. And now an appellate court just agreed. Now, Trump is going to appeal this to the United States Supreme Court, so it's far from over, and this Supreme Court has repeatedly essentially sided with the Trump administration on a number of cases. But Trump has long said that he was going to win this case. He just lost again, and his tariffs invalidated again. Spread the word and follow along for all the news you need to know about.
A federal appellate court judge just ruled that Donald Trump's tariffs are unconstitutional and illegal. Okay, so here's what went down. As we know, Trump used emergency powers to slap tariffs on literally all imports coming from almost every country, even ones that only are occupied by penguins, if we remember that. Well, a lower court judge told him it was unconstitutional, so he took it to a federal court. And this federal judge just said, nope, it is unconstitutional and it's illegal. And if you're asking why it's illegal, it's because Congress holds the power of the purse. This is basic elementary school knowledge. So with Congress being the one who controls the power of the purse, they're the only ones who can impose tariffs or taxes, not the president. So where we're at now is that the tariffs will stay in place until October 14th. So the tariffs are still in place for now until October 14th. And we know that'll give plenty of time for Trump to go to the Supreme Court. And we can hope the Supreme Court does the right thing, but from what we've seen so far, the Supreme Court pretty much has bent the knee to this regime. So we'll keep an eye on this, but for now, these tariffs are deemed unconstitutional.
Another massive win in federal court. This one's big. It's an earthquake. If Donald Trump thinks things are huge, this is huge. We just beat him again on tariffs. We are now 2-0 against Donald Trump on tariffs. The United States Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit just said that his global tariffs are not just stupid and unnecessary and very damaging and very harmful to American families, but they're illegal, they're unlawful, they're unconstitutional. We've stopped him again. Now, I know he's going to try to go to the United States Supreme Court, but we are beating Donald Trump on tariffs. This is a huge win, not just for states, but for the American people, for families struggling to make ends meet, for families fighting ever-increasing prices. This is a big win for American families.
So a little bit of breaking news. So a federal appeals court has ruled just a little while ago that Donald Trump's tariffs on countries around the world are in fact illegal, that he did not have the authority to do so, put these tariffs on, and that by doing so, he's actually broken the Constitution of the United States of America. Folks, this is a developing story. I can imagine what's going to happen. Probably nothing. He ignores the law constantly, and he will just continue to break the law and also just put the Constitution of the United States of America look terrible as usual. Folks, let me know what you think about this in the comments. The source for this is CNN Business.
It's about 3:45 West Coast time on Friday, August 29th. I don't normally do the breaking news thing, but we do have breaking news. A federal appellate court has rejected all of Donald Trump's tariffs. They are illegal and unconstitutional. This decision delivers a blow to the central prong of the president's economic agenda. Wow, that's some unfortunate wording. Blowing Donald Trump's central prong. Levies the tariffs are going to remain in place pending further proceedings. The only place left to go is the Supreme Court. Explicitly in the Constitution, the president does not have the power to levy tariffs on anybody. But there's a 1977 law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So Donald Trump just says, there's an economic emergency, and so now I have the right to put tariffs on every country on the planet. And then he just went ahead and did that. Reading from the Wall Street Journal, a federal appeals court late Friday struck down the Trump administration's signature tariffs, finding that the president had gone too far in his use of emergency powers to rewrite U.S. trade policy. The 7-4 ruling from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit upheld a lower court decision that undercuts a core tenet of Trump's economic agenda. So I am reading from the Wall Street Journal. It doesn't undercut a core tenet of President Trump's economic agenda. It said you're not allowed to do tariffs, period. That's his economic agenda. Okay, the court's majority found the president overstepped his authority under the 1977 law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The decision is the biggest blow yet to one of Trump's signature policies in his second term. Now it goes to the Supreme Court, which I'm sure will just let him do whatever the hell he wants to do, probably without issuing an opinion. They'll probably do it on the shadow docket. Donald Trump railed against the decision in a post on Truth Social, typing in all caps, "All tariffs are still in effect." Well, the court's ruling was stayed pending an appeal to the Supreme Court. Today, a highly partisan appeals court, yes, 11 appellate court judges, all 11 of them are highly partisan, incorrectly said that our tariffs should be removed, but they know the United States of America will win in the end. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. The judges said that the tariffs should be removed, but those same judges know that the United States of America will win in the end. The only thing that's dumber than that, what Donald Trump wrote there, is that pretty much every single person in the United States of America who voted for him is also stupid enough to believe that. Yeah. They are the absolute stupidest segment of society that this country has ever been saddled with. But, you know, whatever. Donald Trump imposed tariffs on virtually every U.S. trading partner in April, including an island that is populated only by penguins, if I remember correctly, in an April event that he labeled Liberation Day, setting off days of stock market chaos and uproar from foreign governments. That prompted Trump to go taco and pause everything. Taco, Trump always chickens out. So anyway, this is a significant decision because it adheres to the rule of law in the Constitution, as does the lower court's decision that this decision, the appellate decision, affirmed. So now we will go to the United States Supreme Court, which doesn't give a fuck about anything anymore other than let Donald Trump do whatever Donald Trump wants to do. That is the position of the conservative majority and the institutionalist, John Roberts, who cares about the institution of the Supreme Court, so much so that he completely invented out of whole cloth the idea of presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for acts committed while in office. They just made that shit up, 100%. So anyway, that's where we're at today. The Federal Court of Appeals has said that Donald Trump's tariffs, every single one of them, is illegal and unconstitutional. So, and that put Donald Trump into a bad mood, which caused him to immediately shit his pants, requiring a diaper change. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. It's about 4 p.m. West Coast time. Please, please, please be safe this weekend. If you're going protesting, I know there's a bunch of protests on Monday, Labor Day. Be safe this weekend and don't talk to the cops unless you're yelling at them. And then if you are yelling at the cops at a protest, I've come up with 2 lines that I want to yell at ICE officers, but I haven't seen any. I want to yell at them, do you want me to say hi to your mom later on? And then I want to yell, hey officer, how's your wife and my kids? You guys go out and use those this weekend. If you use those lines, just film it, put it on TikTok, and tag me in that. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
We have some breaking news. The United States Appeals Court has just ruled in a 7-4 decision that Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs against countless nations is unconstitutional. And he has until October to appeal this to the Supreme Court for them to rule on the constitutionality of this. This is not to be confused with the Supreme Court ruling with lower-level district judges that have been informed not to overstep the executive authority, because this is the appeals court that rendered this decision. This is why this needs to be taken directly to the Supreme Court, because the appeals court has ruled it's unconstitutional. But I do want to say this. These fucking judges in the 7-4 decision are nothing other than pocket-padded globalists. These people are traitors. The United States President, Donald Trump, via emergency declaration, has levied these tariffs against nations. And it is because we were taken advantage of for the longest time. Some of these tariffs are reciprocal. Some of these tariffs are far higher for many different reasons. Some of these tariffs are even levied against countries such as India because they're purchasing oil from Russia. With that being said, I fully expect the Supreme Court to rule in his favor because it is within his power. The executive power of the president is the economy, is the fucking fiscal responsibility of our nation to not be taken advantage of by other nations or corporate entities, especially none more so than those of the fucking globalists, the neocons, the warmongers that are continuing to fund this bullshit. All of these people that are on this panel are embedded deep within, rooted in hatred for us, for you and me, and they want us to believe that the tariffs are a bad thing for our country. They want to supersede their power and insert themselves into fucking political conversations when they don't have a clue what the fuck is going on because they turn their head in the other direction, because their pockets are getting filled, because they're taking our money. We are $37 trillion in debt, and there's only one way that could ever happen, and it's called mass fraud. Sellouts from these motherfuckers. Donald Trump's the only one that's gotten in there and has changed anything. He's the only one that's done a fucking thing and made an attempt. So at the end of the day, I know the Supreme Court's going to rule in his favor, but we also need to take it a step back and look at the fucking big picture here, because these pieces of shit, and that's what they are, they're all pieces of shit, are our enemies. And they're in high-ranking positions still, all the way the fuck on down. See them for what they are, and don't forget.
So a federal appeals court just struck down most of Donald Trump's tariffs, calling them flat out illegal. The court said Trump's trafficking and reciprocal tariffs went way beyond what the law actually allows under IEEPA, which is the emergency powers presidents use for foreign trade. In other words, the judges are saying Trump overstepped his authority, and the tariffs he pushed through, well, they're invalid. Now, this is huge because the tariffs were a cornerstone of Trump's America First trade policy, the thing he used to hit China and other countries to force better deals. His team is going to fight this for sure, but the question now is whether the courts are basically dismantling his trade strategy piece by piece. So here's where I want to take this whole thing. Is this judicial overreach striking down a policy voters actually supported, or did Trump just go way too far and break the law? And should a president have this kind of power over trade, or should the courts keep this whole thing in check? Let me know in the comments, because this ruling could change the way every president handles tariffs from here on out. Appreciate you.
We have some major breaking news out of Washington. An appeals court has officially ruled that Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal, confirming that he unconstitutionally overstepped his authority as president. Democrats are very happy at this decision, with one of the senators saying federal courts have repeatedly done what Republican senators won't do, saying in black and white that Donald Trump's tariff spree is illegal and cannot continue. Another senator said there are small businesses all over Colorado and medium-sized ones that have been in misery since Donald Trump put these unconstitutional and illegal tariffs in place. They're all going to be relieved to know that a president shouldn't be able to do this unilaterally. Donald Trump, however, was not as happy, saying if these tariffs ever went away, it would be a total disaster for the country. It would make us financially weak, and we have to be strong. The USA will no longer tolerate enormous trade deficits and unfair tariffs and non-tariff trade barriers imposed by other countries, friend or foe. He also said if allowed to stand, this decision would literally destroy the United States of America. At the start of this Labor Day weekend, we should all remember that tariffs are the best tool to help our workers and support companies that produce great made-in-America products. But the thing is, we're hearing from these companies, we're hearing that they are struggling because of these tariffs. Of course, in Donald Trump's land of delusions, he thinks other countries are the ones paying these tariffs, but no, in reality, it's us, the American consumers and businesses. To quote Donald Trump, He is the one that's actually literally destroying the United States of America with his reckless policies.
Breaking right now, a federal appeals court has just ruled most of Trump's 2025 tariffs are illegal. But here's the catch, they're still in place for now. Today's ruling says Trump overstepped by using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose broad import duties. This court made it clear the IEEPA is for targeted sanctions, not for rewriting America's tariff code. That power belongs to Congress, not the president. But the judges also issued a stay, so the tariffs don't come down yet. They'll stay in effect until at least October 14th, while the administration appeals, likely to the Supreme Court. What does this mean? If the ruling holds, companies could seek refunds on billions in duties. If the Supreme Court sides with Trump, the tariff wall stays up. Bottom line, the court just said presidents can't use emergency powers to create new taxes, but until the Supreme Court weighs in, you're still paying for those tariffs at the port.
Wow, breaking news. Federal Appeals Court strikes down Trump's tariffs found illegal and unconstitutional. Oh my God, I just came back from my abundant swim and I was swimming in abundance and letting things go that weren't working for me and finding my joy. And then I come home and hear this, a boom, shaka, boom. Halla frickin' luya. The appellate court finds it illegal for Trump to impose tariffs like this.